There's a certain reverence one feels at the sight of a lighthouse. A beacon of constancy, keeping watch over time and tide. A promise of refuge from uncertain waters. The Oak Island Lighthouse, located near Southport, is one of 7 such structures that line the coast of our state. Built for the Coast Guard in 1958, it would become one of the last lighthouses ever constructed. In the spring of the previous year, Brinkley & Son Construction Company had placed the winning bid on the building contract, unaware of the historical significance it would later have. The business was founded by William F. Brinkley Sr. in 1947. It then passed to his son, Bill Brinkley, and is now run by his son, Mike Brinkley. The company was well known for their expertise in concrete construction.
At the time, we didn't really think that much about it. As it got older, it began to take on a certain life as an icon or a landmark.
Aside from being the second newest in the country, the Oak Island Lighthouse has a number of distinguishing characteristics.
When this was first commissioned, this was the second brightest lighthouse in the world, and it was the brightest in the United States. It originally had 70 million candle power. They were using mercury vapor bulbs and a big 36-inch reflector. In 1962, they switched to 1,000-watt incandescent bulbs, so it lost that second brightest status, but the light can still be seen 24 nautical miles out to sea. This is unique in its structure in that it doesn't taper at the top like a lot of the lighthouses. And then it's the only lighthouse we know of with the switchback ladder configuration instead of having the spiral staircase that goes to the top.
Other unique features? A motor-powered hoist to carry supplies to the top. And coloring agents were mixed into the concrete during construction, meaning it would never have to be painted.
The walls are 8 inches thick. The coloring in them is 8 inches thick. The first, I'm going to say 50 feet is just plain old concrete like you pour out here in your driveway. In the next 60 feet or so, we used a coloring agent.
In order to establish a solid foundation, 24 10-inch pipe pilings were driven 67 feet into the ground.
They have a plate on the bottom, and then you fill it full of concrete.
Then, reinforced steel was put in place to support the platform. To control the pouring of concrete, an innovative technique known as slip-form jacking was used. The lifting was more uniform, resulting in a more even distribution of concrete and consequently reducing the risk of cracks or deformation. Once all forms were put into place, the pouring would be a continuous process until the tower was completed.
Once you start, you don't stop unless the hurricane hits you. You got to have it moving. Under any circumstances, you cannot let it sit there. If you don't kind of keep it in almost a motion, if it starts hanging up on you, you're going to have a bad place in your concrete.
Finally, after 7 days of constant pouring, the lighthouse reached the elevation of 148 feet. It was now time to place the 1,800-pound lantern, a responsibility the Coast Guard would take on. Since it was activated in May of 1958, its light has guarded the mouth of the Cape Fear River, warning of the nearby dangerous Frying Pan Shoals. In 2004, the town of Caswell Beach acquired the lighthouse as part of the federal Lands to Parks program.
The government decided that some of the structures like the lighthouses, because of GPS, were no longer a critical function for the government, and they're starting to turn those over to private organizations or to government agencies. And the town formed a group called FOIL, the Friends of Oak Island Lighthouse, to actually maintain and work with that.
Well, the Coast Guard does maintain the light for us as long as they have a base here, they've agreed to do the actual maintenance on the light because they have all the electricians and mechanics and everything, and it's just easier for them. But the town maintains this physical structure.
All of the work that's done here and all of the people that participate in it are volunteers. If you took some pictures of the landscape around here, up until about 4 months ago, this was just all barren, and we had so many visitors that the dune was starting to erode. So the Friends of Oak Island Lighthouse put together a campaign, and we raised some money, and by donations and a lot of hard volunteer work, we were able to put in the walkway and all the plantings that you see around the lighthouse today.
Well, during the summer, we do a general tour just up to the first level, so you can just get a look and see what it looks like.
And we give a little talk about the lighthouse, and we let them look up there and make sure that they're comfortable.
And then we also give tours up here to the top of the lighthouse year-round, but we do that by appointment because we need a guide to go with people because of the ladders. And about 1 person in 10 says, I don't think I want to go to the top after all, because it's a little intimidating when you first stand inside and look up. But it's really not a bad climb. We had one lady, 83 years old, who came to the top. She's been our oldest climber so far.
Mike Brinkley, only a child at the time the lighthouse was built, remembers his first encounter with it.
I'm 5 years old, and here's 169 feet of lighthouse, and I made it to the first window and the first landing, and I was scared to death, and that was the end of it, and I just couldn't go any further. After about 40-some years, I was finally able to climb to the top of the lighthouse, and it was a real treat for me.
On certain days, visitors may tour not just the lighthouse, but also the adjacent Coast Guard station, which has been on the island since the 1930s. The current building replaces one that burned in a spectacular fire in 2002. Amazingly, the lighthouse was undamaged.
This is one of the best jobs, if you will, that I've ever had, because everybody that comes here is always excited to be here. These people come here because they want to come here, and they're looking forward to a good time, and we try to provide them that. Every once in a while we'll see deer playing over on that island over there, and they're so excited when they get to go up in there and actually see out into the water. They point out places that this last group said, oh, we stayed at this house just down the road here, and we can see the pier where we used to fish with our family. And so everybody wants to come and go up in the lighthouse, see the scenery, and actually be in something that's been part of their history for years.
While GPS technology has reduced the importance of lighthouses, they still possess a certain air of timelessness. And there's no sign our fascination with them will fade anytime soon.